Hello and welcome to Schmidy's guide on how to tank in the secret world. In this guide we'll be going through how to tank Facility, which is the very last dungeon of the game, at least the classic dungeons in this game, that we have yet to run. Going to be running several different builds in this dungeon. This dungeon is pretty unique in that you don't really even need a tank. Most people will heal tank this dungeon. We're going to do that for a couple of fights. But really, it's just kind of a potpourri. It's just going to be a smorgasbord of builds. It's just kind of pick your own build sort of deal. As such, I'm just going to be showing off a bunch of just random stuff that I made up. And shoot, we're even going to change some stuff up while we're here. Prisoner of Fate, where are you? There we are. So you can see this has absolutely no hit points on it. And that is because we don't need any for this fight. This guy doesn't have an auto attack, and your real goal is going to be to control him and keep him sort of moving in this... You'll see, as he dashes around, you want to keep him contained, basically. So you kind of want to just keep him in this area so that he isn't doing anything totally crazy. And when he uses this skill right here, Bad Taste, you've put it in such a way that he isn't going to be using Bad Taste in nasty spots that you don't want him to. Yeah, you just want him to keep on using it right in these areas. We can actually just move out of the way of that while still using our skill, because Prisoner of Fate is awesome, and there you go. So, you can just sort of do what you want to in this. Gonna be throwing a little bit of the guide out there, like I'll let you see each of the builds I'm using, but it's just whatever you want to. Most people just use a heal tank build. So, we're just running some skills for DPS with Agitator, basically. Just have Exposed and a Afflict to keep up the stuff that we're supposed to as a tank.
She is the program.
Sorry, defense for wiping a core. Alright.
The mysteries of the cosmos. The program researches anima and anti-anima.
In this fight, we are actually going to be doing a real tank build. This is a DPS tank, so again, we have more health this time. We have a real set of gear to go along with this, which you should know how to make by now. In fact, to do this correctly, you just need 1 major and 2 minors at 0.5, and you will have exactly 750 block, which is what you want. All the rest of it should be hit and pen. I just use those same hit pieces that we've been using forever, and everything else goes to pen. And this just allows you to do substantial damage while still having enough HP and block rating to keep your healer happy. Which you don't need in this fight, by the way. In this particular fight, I've seen people use their scenario builds and put on Agitator. Like, that's how little damage he does if you know the mechanics. So, that's what we're going to be showing you here. Basically, his big mechanic is, first we get to see the gimmick of this dungeon, which is every time you glance you take 1,000 damage. And second, he'll use a ability that just blasts the water with electrical current, and that electrical current stays there for a long time. Like, it will never go away. So you need to know how to move him in such a way that he doesn't kill the party with all of the electricity in the water, because that can happen if you don't know how to move him correctly. So right now we're just going to beat on him. And eventually he will use electromagnetic cauterization. You can stand and leftist element. So many random little things about this one. Extreme right has actually got the correct hitbox on it. You don't want to stand in that. And right about now, yeah, he is going to use electromagnetic cauterization. So we are going to run over here along the west side of this wall. Get out of the way of that because it really hurts. And we're just going to run him this way. We're going to see if he does it again. No, he doesn't. So we're going to move him over here. And basically we're just going to keep on moving him around the outside as much as we can. Take care not to get caught, because we're doing too much damage that we're not going to see it here. But you can get caught. Like, make it so that between the electricity that stays there forever and the electricity that he's about to do, you can't move. Don't let that happen. So he'll use cauterization here. He usually uses it again here. And this is where you can get caught, because the electricity here will occur. Yeah. And when you're trying to run away, people will run this way, and they'll die. You have to run this way. So you can see one of the people was already just running that direction in the event that he just uses cauterization again. He does not. So we're going to stand right here, because that should be fine. He'll use Roof Smash. Just don't stand in it. Don't back up too far, because that will kill you very quickly. And don't stand... Yeah, 15 just barely got out of the way of that one. Don't stand where his charge can hit you, because that charge will kill you. Okay, he's going to use Magnifying Transmitter and Electromagnetic Cauterization. The Red Guard can use casts after he's dead. So, just because you've killed him, don't think that Electromagnetic Cauterization isn't going to work. It totally is. And now, aside from the gear, we're going to be using a more standard build for this dungeon, which is the heal tank. Now you'll notice that I only have one heal piece on, even though I have a couple more of them sitting over here. I'm just not using them at the moment. It's because you don't really need to. I'm not actually going to be healing myself enough to keep myself alive through all of this. All I have to do is heal myself enough to keep myself alive until I can get to another node, because here's another gimmick in the dungeon. If you stand next to a node, which is, you can see these little things right here that are shooting out anima energy, you will gain 50,000 hit points. That's why you don't really need a tank in this dungeon. Yeah. So, we are going to go in here after just a second. I would suggest more than just one heal piece. I would and a blood focus. I would suggest like having a healing headpiece or something to keep your life more manageable. But you just, or like a healing major, but you just don't need it, and I'm going to show that. Alright, here we go.
We have entered the anti-animal research phase. Do not approach the nodes. Do not touch the nodes. Initially, we had not calculated for anti-animal. It is the byproduct of cutting into the cosmos.
So right now you can see we have way too much health. And we are just going to stand here for a little while. Basically, the strategy that I use here is that my elite passive is Rapid Getaway, which makes it so every time I use a consumer, I get a speed bonus, which you can see is the blue on my feet. And then all we do is we run up the stairs so that we make them run all the way around the stairs, and then once they've done that, we run back down. Which forces them to run all the way down the stairs, because they don't do it any other way. Well, we, aside from this one dude over here who caught up to me somehow, can stay away from basically all of them all the time. So we just run around in circles. They will catch us occasionally and do a little bit of damage. Ooh, that's a lot of them. And every time that one of these nodes gets activated, they all do their little prey thing for a second, which gives us a chance to run away. So they're going to do their little prey thing. We've got two of them to deal with. Gotta run over to... Ah! Missed it. Yeah, I was afraid that was going to happen there because there were a couple of them. But, and we could have saved that by running down. But I think several people were dead before that happened. Because they shouldn't have died yet. They should, yeah, they should all be like Onevia, who's got a bajillion thousand hit points. We're just barely not gonna finish this, aren't we? Oh, that's so sad. Onevia might be able to actually just win, though. It's quite possible. It would just take forever. Yeah, she's got 20,000 hit points, but you can keep healing in between here, and they will all disappear. So she's done this a billion times. Yeah, she probably will be able to survive all of this. Oh, couldn't quite. Yeah, you can actually have enough HP here to survive all of that. Ugh, well, that's an almost win with a wipe. That hurts. But we're going to keep going here. So yeah, that's why I would suggest one more heal piece, is just because you can actually keep yourself alive through that. With a little bit more heal rating, like we could change this to be healing us for, I don't know, probably twice, 3 times as much without too much trouble. We just generally don't need it because we'll be generating enough aggro because nobody else is going to be hitting things.
We have entered the anti-aggro research phase. Do not approach the nodes. Do not touch the nodes.
50,000 hit points. And we're just going to let them beat on us for a while because we don't care. And then we run up here so that they don't have line of sight to us, and by the time they do, we are down here, gaining a ton of hit points all the time and running away from everything. Oh, there's one of them up here again, that's fine. The one is going to have troubles killing us by itself. That gives us a chance to run away while they do their little worship the filth thing. Lets us get up here. And it's kind of a timing thing, right? We want to make it so that we can run back down there just as they're about to get to us, but they don't actually get to us yet. And rapid getaway helps a lot with that. That's a lot of things. We're going to stand here for a second. There we go. And again, we run all the way up here so that they have to catch us, which they should not be able to do. And by the time they can catch us again, we are at 50,000 hit points. You can usually just stand next to one of these things, honestly, like, nothing's stopping you. Alright, this went a lot smoother. That's what it's supposed to look like. So you can see we don't even really need a heal tank build here. We could die right now and everybody could finish. Like, we're actually just gonna stand here. Because it helps this go faster. There we go. And that's how it's supposed to look. Okay. I wish we hadn't done this entire run once already, but hey, we did well. And hopefully Mai-chan's prediction doesn't come true here. So, there's that heal tank build. A couple of new things that we haven't seen. I mean, these aren't even like optimal, it's just I threw stuff on this bar. Like, you just do not need a real heal tank build for this. So, I would like to throw out like what the real heal tank build looks like, but it's just more important to show you that you don't need it. For this fight, I just have AoE because there's going to be some drones over here. You can see them actually. And we have to kill those drones when they appear. Basically the contact core, which you're about to see here, that will flash red like an alarm, basically, and then drones will appear from the perimeter of the arena here, and you have
Clearance initiated. Please vacate
to catch them. That was supposed to be this. Alright, there we go. So you will have these little lasers chase after you. Okay, there it is. You can see that alarm going off. I am looking for where these things are going to spawn. Looks like they spawned on the other side. As such, we're just going to beat on it, because that's now our DPS's problem and not our problem. And again, if you glance in this part, you will take 1,000 damage like I just did. I took slightly less because I have tank stuff on to mitigate the damage, and my Chen totally died. Again, you don't need a healer in this fight. You don't need a healer in a lot of these fights, it turns out. Okay, no more. Drones, it looks like. So we didn't have to fight any of the drones, but that's why I have clearing the path and domino effect and the flamethrower, is so that I can just pick them up if they come onto my side. And they'll be coming from here, and there's just a bunch of those little drones. They run over to the core, and if they get to the core, they will heal it all the way back to full health. Which obviously makes that the DPS race where the circle appears and he does a purge protocol. Makes it much more difficult. Eventually that purge protocol just goes to the entire end of the screen and everyone dies. Alright, so if you want to see that build, there it is. Pretty much everything you've already seen forever. And I mean, I think we've seen almost all this stuff except for Dragon's Breath on regular tank builds. Next, we have another pretty standard tank build with a slight modification to make it easier to run this next part. This next boss is actually basically 5 mini-bosses. When they die, they leave a persisting hazard, and for your DPS to survive, they have to be able to get to these nodes here, so you have to make it so that the hazard doesn't stop them from getting to the nodes. So you'll notice that we have Art of War, which forces things to attack us, so we can move them where we want to. Helter Skelter is just our dash that we need. Okay, we're not going to be able to move them the way I want to. So I don't like to use Chaotic Pull there, but we had to because they just blew them away so fast with buffs. Alright, now there's going to be 2 of them. We want to look at Capsule Breaker, which is the guy with the hammer, because he can aggro reset, and it's really important to be targeting him first, because every time he uses Touchdown, he resets his aggro. This should still work. I will be able to pull him just perfectly for this. Just gonna move over here. And then we're about to swap over. So Helter Skelter can either be used as an impair or as a dash. And since the Reality Surgeon is actually going to be on you, you can just run him over here. Yeah, he's gonna use Surging Blades and then boop. Perfect, right? We would have rather he not got caught on that, but you can see I've left this path free. And that's what we want to do, essentially, is leave this path free, so the other ones we're going to try to move over there. Both of these guys require impairs, so we're going to stop that. We're going to move this guy away over here. And finally, we're going to come over here for our last guy, the Sequence Analyst. And you'll notice I'm not even doing anything. It doesn't matter. He's pretty much where we want him. Oh, I couldn't stop that. Somebody might die. That's my fault. Okay. So it's not beautiful, but you can move around. And that's all you really need. I would have rather this particular one be over there, but it still works. And now they all respawn once, which actually clears up some space, which is nice. And we just blow them away real quick. And that's the fight. Pretty easy. It's just really interactive because every group does different amounts of DPS, and depending upon the DPS the group does, you're going to have to change how and where you move these guys so that they're not in the way. We can just sort of use stuff here to stop them from moving for a second, and this fight will be over in an instance here. There we go. Alright, now we gotta be on this until it goes away. Since we're not in combat, we can just continue spamming our consumer on this thing, which is hilarious. And again, we're gonna be on the heal tank build here in 9 seconds. And our job, again, is to just run around. There's the two phases to this fight for Helena. The first phase, she just is as she is. You run over to the nodes, and she beats on people, but it doesn't matter because you got 50,000 hit points. The second part, she becomes kind of like this filth monster. And when that happens, a actual like filth ball from this cosmos void over here is going to come. And you have to run away from it, because if it reaches you, you die. And basically we are again just going to be using the power of Rapid Getaway to run faster than this ball can catch up with, so that we can just keep it away from our DPS as he kills it. Okay. Usually she goes at around 600,000 hit points, but I think we'll be okay. She can bug here, which is really obnoxious. You want to stop calling to the Cosmos. I like to use Chaotic Pulse so that I can already be back to the node by the time she gets back, because you'll notice she does a lot of damage. Okay, we like to run to the center here. Everybody else will usually stay next to the node, because we need to be away from these guys, because that filth ball is just a proximity effect, and if it gets close to anybody, it just murders them. So we need to be away from them while we start this. We also want to get a node buff, because 50,000 hit points worth of heal is a big deal. If you don't get that, you won't be able to get to aggro very easily. So we need this. So you'll notice this thing is on us. We can actually run through this filth if we have to. It does do significant damage, so you want to be wary of that. You don't want to make tight turns like I just did there, because that can catch up to you. Alright, I made a poor decision there with my turns, so basically at this point we are just trying to catch her with some exposed to make life easier on our deeps and not get caught by this guy. Those are our goals right now.
Why'd you ground me? I trained for this. They made me for this.
Woo, we just lost our mouse. Normally I would be using Discord Rising and Escalation as I got to him a little bit more, as I got to Helena. I'll try to do that this time, but my mouse is not cooperating. Like that. So you see we just threw like 8 stacks of exposed onto her with that. Easy money. Unfortunately, we are just absolutely getting destroyed by our mouse. Okay, there we go. So just sort of throw your stacks on there, get the Afflict on there when you can, and just help out your DPS and don't get hit. And that is everything you're going to be doing for this fight. So this is sort of the make your own dungeon. And just figure out builds that you like, stuff that works for you. You can heal tank the whole thing with actual heal tank gear if you want to. Thank your group, because they were great. You can be 5 DPS. You can do pretty much however you want to. So this is our last classic dungeon, and since I had originally created these videos on the relaunch, because I thought it was going to be a relaunch of this game, I think this is probably the last guide I'm going to do for the Secret World. So if you plan on playing Secret World Legends, I will see you there.